Hello, I'm Dr. Mikey Mewborn, and this is Leadership Development. Today we're looking at the topic, Inspire a Shared Vision. Inspiration is one of those special things that many leaders have, and it helps people to understand what's so important about the vision that they have. And so when someone is able to come into your life and inspire you, usually it's for a greater purpose or maybe a greater good. A lot of times people inspire others to help with other people that are in need, or maybe it's a cause that they're trying to fight for. Whatever that cause is or that vision is, it takes inspiration to get other people involved. And so we're going to look at that today in our lesson. It's good to be with you. Let's begin our study.
Hello and welcome to Leadership Development. Today we're looking at the topic, Inspire a Shared Vision. It's good to be with you today. Let's begin our study. I want to start by talking about the idea of being forward-looking. Same idea of forward-thinking, but being forward-looking differentiates from other leaders. When you think of the qualities that you want to see in a certain leader, you're going to look at someone that can see the future or look into the future and have a plan of how to get to where he or she wants to go. Kind of the whole idea of goal setting and accomplishing those goals. But we first have to look at the idea of observing. A forward-looking thinker is a person who observes what's going on around them. Then they dream, the idea of dreaming what the future could look like, then setting up a plan, and then the idea of accomplishing that plan. Now, I think one of the great ways of understanding this is Michelangelo's David. This is one of the most incredible masterpieces that has ever been sculpted in the world, and it is just outstanding to be able to view this wonderful sculpture. But I love what Michelangelo had to say about sculpting. In every block of marble, I see a statue as plain as though it stood before me, shaped and perfect in attitude and action. I have only to hew away the rough walls that imprison the lovely apparition to reveal it to the other eyes as mine see it. What an incredible quote for all of us, because what Michelangelo is seeing when he looks at a block of marble is really a finished project. It's a finished product. It's at the end of all the work. Here's what I know I will see. I think that's incredible when you think of forward thinkers or forward lookers. They are saying, I know it's already there. All I have to do is go and get it. I know that there's a bright future ahead for what I'm about to do. It may take me 2 weeks, it may take me a month, it may take me 5 months, or it might take me a year to accomplish what I want. But at the end of that, I know something wonderful is going to show itself. And not just for my eyes alone, but for everybody else. This quote is one of my favorites. I've heard it many times throughout my life, but I think a lot of people want to say it's from Michelangelo, but no one is for sure about that. But here it is. It is easy. You just chip away the stone that doesn't look like David. Well, the idea there is that Michelangelo said this quote. He probably did say it. It's kind of a similar idea of what he said earlier, but we don't know for sure if he said it. But one of the things I want to just mention about this quote, it is the idea that I am chipping away anything that doesn't look like what it should look like. We use this when we're talking about the life of a believer in Jesus Christ and the sanctifying work of a believer, the sanctifying work of Jesus Christ on the believer's life. And we might even say this is really appropriate for us when we talk about discipleship. Someone is growing up in their faith. They're being discipled. They're being mentored. They're learning how to get rid of the things that are not needed or not wanted in the Christian life. And what they're doing is they are applying the things that should be there. And I think sometimes what we think of with a Christian is the idea that God is chipping away all the things that shouldn't be in our lives. And what he's doing is he is building up all the things that should be there. And I think that is an important way to look at it. A forward-looking person will see it like that. I think Martin Luther King Jr. was possibly one of the most forward-looking people that you are ever going to read about. In his I Have a Dream speech, he said these words: "I have a dream that one day this nation will rise up and live out the true meaning of its creed. We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal." His whole push in this incredible address called the I Have a Dream speech that was given in 1963 was a speech for decades. It was a speech for a century. It was a speech for centuries. It was so wonderful because it's given at the Lincoln Memorial in Washington, D.C. It was a defining moment for civil rights and what would really happen, or what he was hoping to accomplish. And a lot of people were there listening and tuning into what he had to say. He saw the dream. He saw it, but he was trying to articulate it in a way that other people could grab a hold of that. That's the idea of inspiring a shared vision. You have the dream, you have the vision, now it's getting other people to see what you already see. Incredible story there. Also, when we're thinking about forward looking, the importance of having vision. Now, when you think about what people are desiring and this idea of inspired shared vision, they are desiring purpose for their lives, they want mission, they want legacy, and they want calling. They're hoping to have all these things. So if a person is going to follow someone, they want that person that they're following, that leader or perceived leader, they want that person to have purpose, mission, also have legacy and calling on their lives, but they usually want that to come into their lives. So they want the leader to call on them for these things as well, to help them find the purpose, help them find the mission, help them have the legacy, help them have the calling. And maybe it's sharing in what we would say is a bigger vision. When you think about church, of course, with most churches, there is a vision statement, a mission statement, the idea that we are setting forth what we want to do. And in that, there's going to be the idea of purpose. Maybe it's called a purpose statement, but purpose or mission, maybe it's the legacy that you want the church to have as time goes on. Let's say, for instance, we look down the road 10 years. What do we want the legacy of this church to be? Or what's the calling of this church in the area that it's actually in? Now, there's an importance there of having a vision, but that importance is going to be based on the forward-looking leader who can see what's going on, and then he or she is sharing that vision with other people. I think it's important for us because it shares the same understanding, or almost the same meaning, sentiment as sheep without a shepherd. You see in Mark chapter 6 kind of a teaching about this, but Jesus is speaking to the crowd, and when he lands to speak to kind of the same crowd, because they went around to find him after he got into a boat. But they went around to talk with him, and it says in Mark chapter 6 verse 34, when Jesus landed and saw a large crowd, he had compassion on them because they were like sheep without a shepherd. That's a similar idea that you see in the Old Testament. Sheep without a shepherd. Well, what happens when the sheep don't have a shepherd? They have a loss of protection, a loss of supply, providence type of thing. They have a lack of maybe guidance where they need to go, and so sometimes what the sheep will do is they'll just scatter. Or maybe they will get attacked by some wolves or something like that. But the idea there is that if you have a vision, everybody can be on track. Everybody can be going the same direction, and there can be unity within that group. So that's an important thing to look at. Also, with forward looking, I want to bring out a passage that's very familiar for a lot of people. Proverbs 29, verse 18, where there is no vision, the people perish. But he that keepeth the law, happy is he. Now, I want to just give you some thoughts on some of these major words in this translation. Vision can also refer to dream, revelation, or a prophecy. And then perish can also mean chaos or loss of restraint or hopelessness. Now, what we're talking about here is the vision or revelation of God creates purpose and vision for all in his kingdom. So what that's saying there, Proverbs 29 verse 18 is saying, where there is no prophetic guidance, where there is no understanding of where to go or direction, the people will have no restraint, they will be chaotic, there will be hopelessness, and what they're desiring to do will perish. That's the idea there. And so this passage is important for us. It's also just important for everybody that's a Christian, because what we're saying there is the Word of God is the prophetic revelation that has been given forth, that if people follow it, there's hope. There's not chaos, there's order. There is not a loss of restraint, there's strength and there's self-control in that. But it comes from a vision that's being brought to us, and not just a vision as the idea of something you might see, but it's prophecy, it's revelation of what God has for us. And when people don't have that, they are struggling. So a leader must be able to bring forth a revelation or a direction of where we're going, so that the people can know that direction and live in unity with one another. So that's really important when you think about that. Also, when we're thinking about forward looking, we can look at 1 Corinthians chapter 9, verses 24 through 27. It reads, "Do you not know that in a race all the runners run, but only one receives the prize? So run that you may obtain it. Every athlete exercises self-control in all things. They do it to receive a perishable wreath, but we an imperishable. So I do not run aimlessly. I do not box as one beating the air, but I discipline my body and keep it under control, lest after preaching to others, I myself should be disqualified." Now in verse 26, he's saying, I do not run aimlessly. I do not box as one beating the air. The idea there is there's a point to what the Apostle Paul is doing. He's not just running without some kind of revelation or prophecy, or we could even say vision. He's not running just with the idea that I don't know where I'm going, but hopefully I'll get there. He's not doing that. He's saying, no, I know where I'm going. I know the prize. I know the goal, and I know the path. And if I know those things, I'm going to do well. And that's what we need to be as forward-looking people in this leadership development type of mindset. Being forward-looking in times of rapid change. Think about this. There's an illustration that's given to us by Kuzis and Posner. It's the idea of driving in the fog. You know, when you're driving along on the road and then all of a sudden you come up to some dense fog, what do? Well, you slow down usually, and you might put a certain type of lighting on that you can see better in the dense fog. You'll slow down. A lot of times you might even turn down the radio. You grab the wheel with two hands, and you want to make sure as you're proceeding forward that you're careful about what you do. So you might do those types of things because that's what you're doing. So you're cautious as you're going through. So as change comes to you, you are maybe more cautious. But then when you can see down the road, you're going to speed back up, and you are going to maybe turn the radio back on and get moving as quickly as you can to get where you want to go or where you know you need to be. We don't run aimlessly, so what we can do is say this running aimlessly just doesn't fit the idea of forward looking. We're not running in all directions. We're going one direction because we see what's up ahead. And when we don't see, we slow down. So what we're to do in this whole idea, whether it's driving or running, we trust the Lord. We slow down at the right times. Be observant of the trends that are around us. What's going on? What are other people doing? And then don't compromise your convictions. Stay true to those convictions as you are forward looking. Now as we continue on, we see discover the themes. All right? What does this mean, discover the themes, or the theme of what you want to do? Express your passion. Now, one of the better ways to figure out your passion is to see what's going on. I would say this, also explore your past. What have you enjoyed in the past, or what have you not enjoyed? And then kind of let the future go a different direction depending on that, or the same direction. Let your past be a guide. Let it be somewhat of a tutor for you to help you see what is going on. The past is a prologue to one's future in many ways, and so it's important to think like that. I like what one writer said. He said, "We make sense of our world retrospectively, and all understanding originates in reflection and looking backward." It's very true when you think about that. Winston Churchill said this, "I felt as if I were walking with destiny, and all that my past life had been but a preparation for this hour and for this trial. I thought I knew a good deal about it all. I was sure I should not fail." Of course, when we look back in history and we see the incredible work of Winston Churchill leading a fight with from the side of the British, those in England who are fighting against the evils of Adolf Hitler and the Nazis and coming against them during World War II, he was saying clearly here, "I felt as if my past life was a preparation for what I was now facing." He was looking at his fight that he was facing at that moment retrospectively. He was saying, okay, based on what I have been through in my life so far, I'm ready for this fight as it comes, and I will not fail. I think that's wonderful to think like that. Now, also, we have to pay attention to our experiences. So this is the kind of the same mindset we were looking at earlier. You need to learn from your past. Study your past in some ways. See what worked, see what didn't, and then learn from that. Then also look for opportunities around you. Pay attention to what's going on around you and what you've experienced maybe recently. And as you do that, you're going to look for opportunities that are there that you can jump in and maybe serve, maybe be a part of something voluntarily, but then it might become something even bigger that you really, really enjoy. And then immerse yourself. Well, one of the ways that you immerse yourself is you learn the culture. When you get to learn the culture or know what's going on around you, it's going to be a lot more. It's going to be a lot more simple or a lot easier for you to see what you want to do or what you can possibly accomplish in that field or with the gifts that you actually have. One of the things is kind of looking at yourself. Who am I? How do I fit in this culture? How do I understand this culture? And I like this: learn the language. When we're thinking about forward looking and we're saying, I like something, maybe I want leadership development to be a big part of my life moving forward. Maybe I want to start a blog site. Maybe I want to start a vlog site. Maybe I'm going to get into the idea of starting a nonprofit organization, or I want to start a ministry here. Whatever it might be, one of the best things that you can do is immerse yourself in the culture to learn what the culture's doing, learn what's already out there, and then learn the language. I don't believe that you can learn a culture until you can't learn a language until you're immersed in the culture anyways. I think that's a part of it as we look at it. But the idea there is that it takes some time. It takes some time for you to immerse yourself. It takes time for you to learn the language of what's going on in the field that you really enjoy. And then once you start understanding that, you can see where you fit and how you can contribute to it. And so when we think about culture, there's a lot of things involved. Of course, you have attitudes and beliefs, language, customs, rituals, behavior, faith, religion, food, art, drama, music, all kinds of things that make up the culture. But how does your leadership development, how is it impacted by these things? Or how can you help these areas or contribute to these areas through your development as a leader? Well, this has been Inspire a Shared Vision. So good to be with you. God bless you. Bye-bye.
All right, that concludes our study today about Inspire a Shared Vision. As you can see, it's important for us to be people that think about the future. We need to be able to see what's coming ahead. We need to be able to observe what's going on around us. And at the same time, take notes of those things so that we can learn from maybe the past and we can strengthen our path for the future. So good to be with you. God bless you, and we'll talk to you soon. Bye-bye.